Yeah, obviously it's a very challenging opponent, playing a really good Coastal Carolina team program that's competed and won championships, been to bowl games. They're probably a model for teams that have moved up from FCS to FBS and did it the right way and won games, committed to their program, and they're really good. So, and their atmospheres up there at home games is outstanding, and so it's going to be quite a challenge. And I think we'll find a lot about ourselves during that game. But I think we'll play hard. We're going to have to play really well, better than we've played in the last 2 games to win this one. And they got one of the best quarterbacks in the country as well, and that's always a challenge. But today will be a big day for us practice-wise the next 2 days, and then Friday we'll go up to the beach, but we're not hanging out at the beach. We're just going up there and play a game and see what happens.
You said one of the better quarterbacks in the country. What have you seen from him that makes you say that?
Well, he's competitive. He's smart. He'll make plays that are there, then he'll make plays that aren't there. He's probably one of the most dynamic leaders in college football, and has been. I mean, what has he been, the 3-time Player of the Year in the Sun Belt Conference? That doesn't happen very often, and he's off to another good start. So, got a lot of respect for him. Got a lot of respect for their program and what they've done in the last, I guess, 7 or 8 years to get to this point. Yeah, they moved up and they invested in their facilities. They invested in their program. They moved up with the intention of moving up to have success. And Joe Mowgli are the ones that was really the one that got it going. And Coach Chadwell was with them on his staff and did a great job with them. And so even with the new staff, they've got experienced coaches. But Joe's been the one that's put that program, I think, at a certain level when you move up. And so because there's programs that move up, but they don't really make the full commitment. And to me, it looks like from a facility standpoint, from a commitment standpoint, they were all in with that. And then they kind of, developed their own brand, so to speak, of, come ball at the beach and sold that from a recruiting standpoint, and it's worked for them.
I remember this time last year, you talked a lot about wanting to establish a culture during the first year, change what it means to come play at Jax State. How would you evaluate how you've done and the team has done so far?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I think it is. I think once you establish your culture, you have to. You can't just sit back and assume that's going to stay that way. You have to work on it every day. And that's one thing that, all these years I've been coaching, I've still found out. Hey, okay, the culture is set. No, it's a daily work in progress to continue that. From the standpoint of how you practice. Like I said last week, I didn't think Tuesday's practice was good at all from an offensive and a scout defensive standpoint. And that's why we got so upset, and Wednesday was better. So this Tuesday I'll remind the guys of that and how we play. And then also, we want to develop our own brand here at Jax State. This is who we are. We're not a big town. We're one of the smallest, if not the smallest town in Division 1A in FBS, and let's use that to our advantage. People are friendly. It's a clean, safe place. There's no traffic, only a couple stoplights. It's a neat place to play. If you're looking for, like I said, big city traffic, big city nightlife, that ain't us. If you like a nice, clean, quiet town, neat campus that's growing, facilities are getting built. Maybe hunt and fish and be kind of quiet. That's who we are. We got to embrace who we are, and I think we're doing that. But we're also going to have, there's going to be some growing pains along the way. I know that too, because that's going to be part of the process. The fewest amount of growing pains we can have, the better. But I'm kind of preparing myself mentally for some of them that have already come and some of them are going to be coming.
Other than calling out guys when maybe they don't meet your expectations with practice, like what else can you sort of do on a daily or weekly basis to make sure that? Well,
it's just from a competitive standpoint. I mean, there's never a time, like you're not going live and tackling people to the ground and all that, but there's never a time when you're loafing when you're supposed to be going full speed, that'll ever be acceptable. There'll never be a time that any coach, including myself, will ever see a guy loaf or not give his best effort and then just kind of ignore it. It's not in our nature, and it can't be in our nature. And that's a part of it. It's a human, I guess, natural instinct to just relax. Or you're away from the play and you don't give your best effort because, you're not really going to be in the play. That's a natural instinct to gravitate to average. And that's not acceptable here. And most guys aren't accustomed to going harder or hard all the time like I expect them to. And our guys have done a good job of that for the most part, but I'll yell at somebody today for not going full speed, either on offense or defense or scout teams, and if I see it again, I'll yell at them again till it gets ingrained in their thoughts.
Do you know the time frame in which Zion will return?
He's back. He was back Saturday for a series, 3 plays. Then he went back to the sidelines and I think threw up some more. So yeah, he was sick as all could get out. But so now we got an interesting dilemma, huh? It's not a dilemma. I think it's an interesting situation. Now I got 2 starting quarterbacks. I got Zion Webb and Logan Smothers. Who's going to start on Saturday? What time's the game start? 6. You'll know 6:01.
What factors will go into your decision of who starts?
Oh, who has a better week in practice? Pretty much. That'll be about it. Yeah, I feel confident in both of them. Logan's getting better and better, and Zion's a good football player when he's healthy and feeling good. And sometimes you have, you can't you're not going to lose your starting job because you're hurt or sick. You're not losing your starting job because you're hurt or sick. You'd lose your starting job because maybe somebody's playing better. But Zion's a good football player, and he'll have a good week of practice. He's a competitive guy. Logan will have a good week of practice. And right now I feel like I got 2 starting quarterbacks.
When you have this kind of situation like you described, how do you manage kind of playing time and snap counts in practice?
Here's what's different about us is that we rep our quarterbacks kind of equally anyway. It's a little bit different. Most people will give their starter like 4 or 5 reps and a backup 2 reps. Our starter and our backups get the same amount of reps. So does our 1s and our 2s every week, and particularly offensively because of our tempo, whatever. We go 4 reps with the 1s and 4 reps with the 2s, or 5 and 5. So that really, to me, if you didn't do that, you would be a little bit more, I guess, concerned about, okay, who's your starting guy, who's your backup guy. But because we have an equal amount of reps and they run the same plays, it's not like we run one set of plays with the 1s and a different one with the 2s. They run the same plays. They both get equal amount of reps. So I'm not from the area where you say, well, you got to pick a guy and go with a guy. If you're good enough to win with, you play. And that doesn't matter what position, including quarterback.
So you said that players really get the same amount of reps in practice no matter what string they are. Is there any way that they would get a starting role playing in games?
What do you mean?
So
Game performance.
Yeah, game performance. Does that play a factor in if they start or not?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Practice is part of it, but your game performance is the ultimate test, right? So sure, that plays a part of that as well, and also maybe some of what our game plan may be plays a part in it. But I think it's natural media inquiries and fans inquire, well, who's going to be the quarterback? Who's going to be the starting pitcher in the first game of the World Series? It's probably the one that gives you the best chance to win, you think, at the time. But I don't overthink it. This is the first game in my entire 20 whatever some years, 6, 7 years as a head coach that I found out about an hour and a half before the game that the quarterback wasn't going to play because he was sick. That was an interesting situation. So thank God we had a guy with a little bit of college experience that went in there, and we were playing a team that we should have beat. So that was, I don't ever, normally you go, okay, on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, or at least Friday, or not an hour and a half before kickoff. But it is what it is. So I think it's a good situation, not a bad situation. We got 2 guys, and then also a third guy in Tayshawn that we're getting confident in as well. So you might see all three of them.
We got a lot of young guys that played experience. Any of those, especially the true freshmen, just young.
Yeah, we played. I think 72 guys played, and that was a good number. We got a lot of guys playing. Played more defensively than offensively. I wish we would have played a few more guys on offense. We got to get a couple more guys going there. But that in that kind of game, that's a good thing to do. And some of them, particularly on defense, I think showed us they're going to have good futures. I think we got a couple really young offensive linemen that showed us they're going to be pretty good players. But our depth is still not as experienced and developed as what it's going to need to be, in the future. I'm talking about Division 1A, ready to play depth. We're not there right now. I think he should be 100%. We've got him and Reggie Bennett too. Reggie Bennett is looking better all the way too. So we're gonna. That's another position that we're gonna be looking at. Okay, what's the rotation going to be at running back? Malik has played well. Ronnie Wiggins has played well. But the instance they don't start to play really well, then we'll put somebody else in there. There's no greater motivator than playing time, right? So we use that 100% of the time if we can. Players know if the guy behind me ain't very good, whatever. So you have to challenge them individually if you have that situation. And thankfully our guys are, we don't have guys that coast because they have a starting job. Their coaches won't let them do that.
What does Jamari Joyner bring to the receiver room?
Well, he's an older guy. He's an experienced guy. He's been around a little bit. So he hadn't played in this offense before. Even though I recruited him, I didn't coach him. But he is an older guy. He has a good concept of what we're doing. He's learned really quickly, and I think every week he gets a little bit better, gets in better shape. But he's a really good athlete. I mean, he was a high school quarterback, and he was a really good athlete. And it's good to see him make a couple catches in the last game.
Is he a guy that you'd like to see get more involved as the season goes on?
All of them need to be. I mean, we need to, there's time, like in a game, last game, we were handing the ball off the last quarter and a half and just get on out of there. So, but the teams can make you throw. They're going to blitz, play cover zero, bring everybody in the box, and they're going to make you throw. So we work on throwing as much as we do in a running game, and we got to be ready to do that.
With your philosophy of if you're good, you'll play. You saw a bunch of players that came and saw however many people played on Saturday. Does that help with recruiting, just knowing that somebody will have a
Oh, I do think, and that's not the reason we do it, but I do think it is a factor. I mean, I think the most important thing for players, I think when they get there, is they want to play. They all want to play. I don't blame them. Some of them. That's why I tell them, don't get worried about where you're at in the depth chart. Just be worried about be good enough to win with. And they all want to play. Recruits want to play, and that's why one of my goals is to play more people than anybody in the country, and that keeps your players happy, of course, and it also helps you as a coach know how to develop them. Because there's guys will play or practice a certain way, but the game, as I said earlier, is the ultimate test. You can make a lot better measurements on where your guys are at as far as being ready to play or win with at this level if they play in the actual game. So last week was good, showed us a little bit, and then with the long season and all these games we got midweek coming back to back, these games are going to be coming in a fast, rapid appearance. So we're going to find out a lot about our roster going forward.
How hard is it to study a team that hasn't played a game this season?
That's the hardest part. Last week was a lot of guesswork, but this week has been even more because it's a whole new staff, and they just have the one game at UCLA, and it's everything. So it's new offense, it's new defense, it's new special teams, and so at least last week we had an idea that they had the same staff from before. This is a whole new staff, and so there's a lot of guesswork. You can't just project what they're going to do just off the UCLA game. You got to go back at some of the history too. But I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that we will see in all three phases that we did not see in the UCLA game. So we're just trying to be prepared for it best we can.
In your experience when, teams like Coastal play UCLA, especially to start the season? Do you think sometimes they throw different stuff in those games than maybe they would in their conference games or other games?
I don't know if it's so much conference or non-conference, but it's the opener. And you'll see some things in the opener that maybe is not traditional for them or not their base because they've had all camp to work on it. And so, okay, we're going to come out in UCLA and show them a few things that maybe we didn't do. But, they got all, like I said, with all new staff and new coordinators, that game tells you a little bit, but not everything. But, we do different stuff too. What we've done in the first two games, we got other stuff that we have to be able to execute. The problem, not a problem, but the issue you have as a coach is you don't want to do so much that it screws yourself up. I mean, sometimes coaches just try to out-trick themselves, where you just got to be able to play your base stuff and execute well and then see if you're good enough to win by doing that. If you try to be too tricky and get outside your own box, so to speak, you can mess yourself up too.
With 7 turnovers on defense in 2 games, and those come in a lot of different ways, but is there anything specific that's jumped out at you that maybe has led to most of those happening?
Well, it goes back the same way about being lucky. The harder you play, the luckier you get. And the harder you play, the more turnovers you get. You seem to be, when the ball's on the ground, if you're playing hard, you got more people around it to bounce on the ball. Or the ball's tipped up in the air, like we saw a couple of times, the harder you play, the more guys that are around to pick it off. So it all goes back to having like a sense of urgency and playing really, really hard all the time.
This is your first away game. Is there kind of a different mindset or kind of philosophy going into the first?
Yeah, a little bit. It's just our little group. We'll have a few fans maybe travel up there and all that, but it's kind of, in some ways it's easier to get our guys focused because it's our just little group of guys, our travel party and our staff and a few family and friends and fans that follow us, and that's kind of it. So I think there's, I don't want to say there's more distractions at home, but there's more challenges on the road. But at the same time, you got to be mature enough. We got enough maturity, I think, to handle it. Shouldn't be an issue.
Obviously, 2 home games start off the season. Thankfully, 2-0 after those 2. But getting ready to head to Coastal. I've never played there, but a couple of my teammates that have transferred from other schools have played there and said it should be a good atmosphere. So they have a good fan base. It'll be their home opener, so should be a good environment. Good team. Excited to play them. Going to be a good test for us.
First road game for a defensive guy, is that exciting? I don't know, knowing because they're not trying to make noise and stuff. Is it easier to maybe time some stuff up when you're on the road?
It's hard to tell. Some in the past we've played at places that were, didn't have a whole lot of fans, didn't have a whole lot going on. But from what I've heard about Coastal Carolina is they have a pretty good fan base, so it'll probably be, if I had to guess, similar to, our fan base at home, just everybody rooting against you.
Well, I was just curious because like at home, the home crowd, they're cheering when y'all are out there on defense because they're trying to make noise. I just didn't know if is it easier when you're on the road because maybe the home crowd isn't cheering when y'all are out there?
I wouldn't say so. It's really just at the end of the day, it's going to be us against them, just our guys against their guys.
How great does it? 7 takeaways. That's most in the country so far. Do y'all take pride in that?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Coach Alley, he harps on just taking the ball away. We don't really call them turnovers. We call them takeaways. We want to take the ball away from them as much as possible and give it back to our offense and put us in the best chance to be able to continue to score and continue to put pressure on those guys. And I think most of our turnovers, I would say, would be from just playing relentless, just playing hard, doing our job, and just playing as hard as we can. Just try to be like there's 13 guys on the field, just attacking.
I know y'all do drills where someone will roll a ball and you'll fall on it, or you'll try to scoop it up, or different stuff. Is that one of the hardest things to practice for, just a turnover, just because of how weird sometimes they can be?
Yeah, some of those drills are kind of funny, but as you've seen the past 2 weeks, they have correlated. We've a lot of fumble recoveries. I know Jeff's got 2 of them back-to-back weeks. picks. Just guys got to drop to their correct, places. Coach Alley, he's smart. He just dials it up. I mean, we play hard enough. I feel like we'll continue continuing to force turnovers.
I know that Jeff didn't have like a full training session last season just because he transferred in so late, but this season he's got a full one under his belt. I mean, what have you seen from him this season? Do you feel like that makes a difference?
Yeah, but Coach Alley, he throws the playbook at you, so it was hard for Jeff last year, I feel like, to really catch on to all the plays, and it was hard for me when I first got here. I mean, it's a lot to learn, but I feel like Jeff just this past offseason and stuff, he's really locked in and learned his plays. He's always been a great football player, and just I feel like this year he's really taken a great step to really help us out a lot. He's moved to nose guard. We've had kind of some trouble at nose, just kind of finding a true nose guard, and Jeff stepped up into that role, and he's done a heck of a job so far this year with it.
Grayson McCall, what's he look like on film?
Man, he's a heck of a quarterback. He's tough. He'll run it if he needs to. I mean, he's got great pocket presence. I mean, he can throw it around. He likes, I guess, number 15, I believe. He loves throwing it to him. He's a good receiver. We'll have to definitely key in on him. Just a good game manager. I mean, he's a real good quarterback.
How exciting is that to, get the chance to prove yourself against, this offense and a guy like Grayson that maybe has some national recognition?
Yeah, kind of all of our coaches pretty much instill in us, which is for almost everybody it's true. It's kind of like, especially coming up from being FCS, it's kind of like we all think we could have been FBS players. We all thought we could do this. We all can see ourselves being at that level, and now that we're at that level, it's like it's our time to really, prove ourselves and show ourselves for who we are and who we think we are. And just every week, really this whole season, every week's going to be a good test, and Coastal Carolina is a good way to start it on the road.
What did something change in the game Saturday? It felt like they had some success moving the ball early, and then it felt like defensively y'all kind of clamped down.
Yeah, I think that all kind of goes back to practice. I feel like Tuesday's practice, we didn't come out very fast, and we kind of seemed to do that Saturday and kind of came out a little slow and kind of let them move the ball on us that first drive. But after that, we kind of locked in and, got back to playing fast and physical and keying in on our details and just playing well.
Is that something that, do y'all have to talk to each other about that, or is that just something once you maybe see them move the ball, it just kind of clicks for everybody, we've got to step up?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened Saturday, but we definitely can't do that in the future. I feel like we need to come out fast and strike them first and start fast and play fast the whole game.
Elusive quarterbacks are some of the toughest to guard. How do you guys able to manage keeping them contained?
The big thing our coaches have been talking about this offseason and stuff is your rush lanes. Make sure we push the pocket. Don't let them escape. Don't let them scramble. Try to stay on your part of the man. If it's a 5-man rush, we got 2 outside, 2 to the shoulder, and 1 straight down the middle to keep a middle push guys and contain guys and kind of just keep them in the pocket.
I know you're here for Central Arkansas, and it's a little bit different at Coastal, but does a different colored field kind of change the way that you guys play?
Yeah, I forgot their field's a different color. I've been watching the UCLA game mostly, but yeah, because it's weird. So our film, we've been watching the UCLA game a lot, and then a lot of kind of South Florida being their schemes and stuff, trying to kind of game plan what they're going to do to us and try to figure out, what they're going to be scheming up. So yeah, I forgot about their field being color. That's going to be weird. I hated playing at Central Arkansas. Their field was terrible.
Well, because of the field color, or?
Yeah, the color, the turf was almost like indoor turf. It was very thin, the beads and stuff. It was weird.
Does that, when you're on a field like that where it's a different color, does it kind of get obnoxious just how, bright it is or anything like that, or?
I wouldn't say obnoxious. It is just kind of odd, though. It is a little odd.
I think you got you were one of the guys that was honored for Player of the Week. What does that mean to you, when the coaching staff picks you, and how do you feel you played Saturday?
Yeah, I just think it was hard to really, I feel like if I was a coach, it would have been hard to pick a guy last week. I feel like everyone played well. We all played together. It's just all about all 11. Everyone doing their job. I mean, I was honored to be picked as a player of the week. I was very, honored and thankful. But I just try to do my best for my guys around me, knowing it's my last year. I try to just leave it all on the field every Saturday.
I mean, you were in some of the younger guys' shoes, I guess not too long ago, but what is being able to play in a blowout game for, the defensive players who are kind of looking to kind of step in? What does that do for a young guy?
Yeah, especially at my position. I mean, we had gotten to our fourth string, which is Keon Clark, but I mean, he's not a fourth string. Like, he's not a typical fourth string guy. Like, I mean, he probably won't be fourth string this week. I mean, he got in like 10 or 12 snaps, had like 3 or 4 tackles, 2 for loss. Like, I just think it shows kind of our depth, especially in some positions, some more than others. And I feel like, thankfully, at my position, like, we have a lot of guys that can roll in and out and keep fresh. And I mean, I really think we can roll 4 deep at my position. I mean, everyone just plays hard, does their job, knows what to do, and does it well.
Does that allow you to play? Are you able to play differently? Like maybe give more, knowing that if you need a breather, you could take it?
Definitely, yeah. So, like, last season was kind of hard compared to this season as far as that goes. Like, last season I played like 50, 60 snaps a game. And this season, like, granted, being a little banged up, I played averaging like 20 to 25 snaps a game, which I'll probably play a little more than that in the future. But, I mean, I'm able to play like full speed almost every snap, like completely full speed, like just running to the ball, relentless, like Coach talks about, but like there's no plays off.
So kind of like what Jackson was talking about, it's going to be cool playing on a field like that. But I see it as another opportunity to play on a national level, against a good football team, and we're all excited, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
What stood out about Coastal just when you're watching film?
They do a lot of different stuff on defense. Only being able to judge off of one game, it's kind of hard to see their entire depth on defense. But, they only had to game plan against one team, and it's kind of hard to see what they're going to do as far as this season goes along. But I think we're really confident so far as what we've seen from the UCLA game.
Zion was obviously sick Saturday. We've seen him kind of, play sick or maybe miss time sick, but try to give it a go. Just, how impressive is that? Just, that Zion gives so much, I guess, when sometimes he does have some illness or injury or whatever.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy you want leading your team. It's the same thing last year. He had problems where another guy had to step in because he was sick, and then he'd go back out there and ball out. He's one of the best competitors we have on this team, and I know we wouldn't want to have anybody else leading us to a win.
And what's that, what was that like for y'all as the offense? Finding out so late and Logan goes out there just,
I mean, it was a shock to everybody. I mean, we saw him at the hotel the night before, and he looked a little down, but, we had full confidence he was going to be able to be out there. But when you have a guy backing him up like Logan, I mean, throughout all of fall camp, we were all confident in him. No matter what happened, we knew if he stepped in, he was going to be able to lead us. And we felt confident from the time that we knew he wasn't playing to the end of the game.
Richard said it was good, having a guy that had so much college experience, with him finding out so, last minute he's going to get the start. Do you think, could you tell that in the huddle and on the sidelines that, maybe you could kind of tell Logan does have some experience and maybe that did help him on Saturday?
Oh, yeah. I mean, from when we first got on the sideline, to every huddle, to every time he was calling out the plays to the O-line, I mean, he was just confident. And that's one of the biggest things that you have to be as a quarterback. And, throughout the whole game, he'd come to the sidelines, talk to the receivers, talk to the running backs, talk to us about, what we need to be doing different. That comes back with the experience that he has. And, I mean, we all trust him.
Does winning by 46 give the offense a false sense of security?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, when you're playing a team from the FCS, it's a little different because you don't really exactly open up everything, like Rich Rod said. But, we pretty much just ran the ball the whole game, and it's kind of hard to judge what we can do as a whole offense yet just because we haven't been able to open everything up.
What's that going to feel like when you're, able to open everything up?
It's going to be exciting. We got to get everybody involved. We got a lot of new guys like Jamari that can catch the ball, whether we throw him a little fade ball, throw him a little slant, he can take it the distance. Malik Jackson, you know, he's explosive. We got a bunch of new guys that have been getting involved throughout all the camp and practice, and, you know, it's exciting.
I mean, I asked Jackson, but from your experience, you know, you were here for Central Arkansas. What's it like playing on a field that's not great?
I mean, it's cool. You go in there and out there for warm-ups, you know, it's really all you really think about. But, you know, once you get on the field, it's business. You don't really, at least me, I don't think about it all too much. But it is going to be a cool experience.
What's that like for y'all as an offense? You know, first road game of the year. How is that different for y'all?
I really wouldn't think it's too much different, other than, you know, being able to have all our meetings and everything here. You know, you're going to be on the road a little bit, and that's a little different, but you can use that time to study just as much as you would being at the hotel. And, yeah.
Have you been encouraged from the offensive line in those first 2 games, do you think?
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of people step up. You know, we have Xavier Bosley starting for us at right tackle, and I think with him being a redshirt freshman, he's stepped up more than people could have expected. You know, and he's a big guy, and he's sitting there pushing people around. And I mean, I think with the rest of our O-line, with the experience that they have, you know, it just comes back to them playing hard.
At the start of the ETSU game, you guys kind of had a series or a couple series where you went 3 and outs. Does that kind of hurt the confidence for the offense?
I don't think it does. You know, when we started out those drives, it's happened in the past, and we start off slow, we come back to the sidelines, and, you know, we assess what the defense has done because we didn't really exactly know what they were doing going into that game. But once we kind of started to figure it out and we started rolling it, it showed.